Today I'd like to talk to you about early Navajo bracelets. These are some of the most beautiful objects that you can find, and the Navajo, or Diné as they call themselves, started making these somewhere probably in the 1870s. They were inspired by the Spanish. Now the Spanish were making jewelry way earlier than this, but somewhere around the 1870s they being the Navajo, started to use the tools and started to understand how the process was, and once they learned how to do it, they really took off and became masters of the trade. They were also inspired by the Plains Indians, who were making their own jewelry, and they were making it using German silver, and often these would be cuffs, big wide cuffs that were used on the bicep or maybe on the elbow, but they weren't the wristbands like the Navajos. The Navajos interpreted it for themselves and decided what their own aesthetics were and what they liked. Now when you're looking at early bracelets, one of the things you want to look for is ingot. Ingot is the way that refers to silver basically, and different types of silver were used in these early bracelets. They could be used from a slug like this, or they might have been made from a coin. Usually it was made from a Mexican peso or American dollar. And by the 1890s, the American government said no more using of our coins to be melted down. And so ingot really went out of style for bracelets by about the 1930s for the Navajo jewelry. One of the things you'll see in these early pieces is they're going to use things like this, handmade tools. They'll also use chisels, and the chisel marks that we'll find are what we call cold chisels, and these are important because they are indicative of being an early bracelet. One of the other things that you want to look for is, does it have turquoise? Early bracelets, the earliest, wouldn't have any turquoise. It would just be simply designed with a little chisel marks, no elaborate markings other than that, and they never would use repoussé. Repoussé is the pushing out of the silver. When you see that, that's really more of a little later design, 1900, 1910. When they did use turquoise, and they did use this early on, pre-turn of the century, they would be very small, nondescript little pieces of turquoise, often green, that were surface finds, maybe from the mines in Tyrone or Cerrillos. These are the kind of pieces you would expect to see, and there would always be a nice early handmade bezel on these. So it's important when you're looking and trying to figure out value, and things that are before the turn of the century have an increased value monumentally, that you look for ingot, you look for simplicity, and also always look for wear. If it doesn't have wear, it's probably uncommon that it's going to be, and highly unlikely, being an early Navajo bracelet.